I discovered my boyfriend was engaged to another woman behind my back, so I crashed their engagement party and exposed his double life to everyone. Story time. I thought I had finally found the one. 2 years of dating, countless I love you, weekend getaways, and meeting each other's friends. We had even started talking about moving in together. Then last Tuesday happened. I was using his laptop to check my email while mine was charging. He'd stepped out to take a call, suspiciously stepping outside the apartment as he always did with certain calls. A notification popped up on his screen, engagement party details, final confirmation. Thinking it was for a friend's event, I clicked it. It wasn't for a friend. It was an email confirming details for his engagement party. This weekend. To a woman I'd never heard of. Complete with a professional engagement photo of them looking blissfully in love. My hands started shaking so badly I could barely scroll, but I read enough to learn they'd been together for 4 years. 4. Our entire relationship had been an overlap. The party was at her parents' lakeside home, about an hour outside the city. I didn't confront him immediately. Something in me needed more than just the explosive reaction. I don't know, justice, closure, to not be the only one blindsided. So I made a decision that was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever done. The lakeside property was exactly as pretentious as I'd imagined. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway, and I could hear laughter and music from inside. I'd spent hours deciding what to wear, finally settling on a red dress he'd once told me was his favorite. My hands trembled as I parked between a Mercedes and a BMW. I almost turned around 5 times on the drive there. What was I hoping to accomplish? But every time I considered backing out, I remembered all the weekends he'd been working or visiting his sick uncle. All the times he'd been with her while telling me he loved me. The door was propped open with guests still arriving. I slipped in behind a group of chattering women, my heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. The house was beautiful. Vaulted ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake, flowers everywhere. About 50 people mingled, champagne glasses in hand. And then I saw him. He was standing next to a tall woman in a cream-colored dress, his arm around her waist, accepting congratulations from an older couple. He looked exactly as he always did, the same smile he'd given me countless times, the same laugh. Except this wasn't our world. This was his other life. I froze in the entryway, suddenly questioning everything. Then his eyes met mine across the room. The color drained from his face so quickly I thought he might pass out. He whispered something to his fiancée and started making his way toward me, weaving through guests with increasing urgency. "What are you doing here?" he hissed when he reached me, grabbing my elbow and trying to steer me toward the door. I pulled my arm away. "Congratulations on your engagement," I said, loud enough for nearby guests to turn. "When were you going to tell me?" "After the honeymoon." His fiancée had noticed something was wrong. She was making her way over, confusion on her face. "Please," he whispered. "Not here. I can explain everything." "Explain what?" I asked as his fiancée reached us. "How you've been dating us both for years. How everything you told me was a lie." "Who is this?" his fiancée asked, looking between us. I turned to her. "I'm his girlfriend of 2 years. Who are you?" The room had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. "His fiancée of 2 months," she said slowly, her voice steady but her hands starting to shake. "His girlfriend of 4 years before that." We both turned to him. He looked trapped, his eyes darting between us and the exit. "I can explain," he said again, but there was nothing to explain. The truth was standing right there in front of everyone. What happened next was a blur. His fiancée's father demanding answers. His mother crying. Me showing text messages from just that morning where he'd told me he loved me. The fiancée showing her engagement ring while tears streamed down her face. I didn't stay for the aftermath. I'd done what I came to do. As I walked out, I heard the fiancée's voice, strong despite everything. "Everyone please go home. The engagement is off." Update 1. It's been a week since the engagement party disaster, and I'm still processing everything. First, thank you for all the supportive comments. To those asking if this is real, unfortunately, yes. I wish I were creative enough to make this up. He's called and texted non-stop since that night. I blocked him on everything, but he started using different numbers. The messages swing wildly between begging forgiveness, claiming he truly loves me, and then accusing me of ruining his life when I don't respond. Yesterday, I finally agreed to meet him at a public cafe just to get him to stop. I needed to return his apartment key anyway. He showed up looking terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Part of me felt a twisted satisfaction seeing him suffer, but mostly I just felt empty. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I know," were his first words. "You humiliated yourself," I replied. "I just made it public." He claimed he'd been trying to find a way to end things with her for over a year, but couldn't because their families were so close. Said he'd been trapped in that relationship while I was the one he really wanted. "So trapped you proposed?" I asked. He had the audacity to claim she'd pressured him into it, that he'd been planning to call it off after the party. When I laughed, he switched tactics, saying he loved us both in different ways and hadn't wanted to hurt either of us. I slid his key across the table. "I've already spoken to your fiancé," I told him. His face went pale. "What?" "Yes, we'd met the day after the party. She'd found me on social media and suggested we talk. We spent 4 hours comparing notes at a bar, piecing together the elaborate web of lies he'd constructed. The work trips, where he was with me. The visiting his girlfriend weekends when he was with her. The fictional sick uncle he used with both of us. We both deserve better," I told him, standing up. "Don't contact either of us again." As I walked away, he called after me, "You'll regret this. No one will ever love you like I did." I turned back. That's exactly what I'm counting on. Update 2. It's been a month now, and things have finally started to calm down. The ex-fiancée, let's call her Elle, and I have actually become friends, which is the one positive thing to come from this mess. We've met for drinks several times, and there's something cathartic about sharing this experience with the only other person who truly understands. We discovered he told us almost identical lies, down to using the same pet names and, spontaneously, taking us to the same restaurants. He even gave us both the same speech about how he'd never connected with anyone this way before. The man wasn't just a cheater, he was a lazy one. Elle told me his family is devastated by the scandal. Apparently, they've known her family for years and were thrilled about the engagement. His mother called Elle to apologize, saying she had no idea about me and was ashamed of her son. As for him, he's telling anyone who'll listen that we're both crazy exes who conspired against him out of jealousy. Elle's cousin works at his company and says he's been painting himself as the victim. Classic. The most shocking part? We found a third woman. Elle got a message from someone who saw a mutual friend's post about what happened. This woman had dated him for 8 months last year, during both of our relationships. We met her for coffee last week. She's lovely and was just as blindsided as we were. I've started therapy to work through the trust issues this has created. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm sad, but mostly I'm grateful I found out before things went further. Elle and I joke that we should start a support group for women who've dated pathological liars. Oh, and he showed up at my apartment last night, drunk. He alternated between crying and yelling until my neighbor threatened to call the police. I'm considering a restraining order. Final update. 6 months have passed since the engagement party showdown, and I can finally say I've moved on. The restraining order I mentioned in my last update became necessary after he wouldn't stop showing up at my workplace and apartment. The judge granted it after seeing the evidence of harassment, and he stayed away since then. Elle and I are still friends. She's actually dating someone new, a genuinely nice guy who her family adores. We still meet monthly for what we call our dodged-a-bullet dinners. As for me, I'm focusing on myself. I've changed jobs, started taking photography classes, and even planned a solo trip to Portugal next month. The third woman we discovered is also doing well. She got engaged to her long-term partner last month. The most surprising development came 3 weeks ago when a family member of his reached out to me. Apparently, this wasn't his first time doing something like this. He had a similar situation in college that the family had helped cover up. They'd hoped he'd grown out of it, but now they're insisting he get professional help. I don't know if he will, and honestly, it's not my problem anymore. What I do know is that showing up at that engagement party was the worst decision I've ever made. It was messy and dramatic, but it forced the truth into the light where none of us could ignore it. Sometimes closure doesn't come in the form you expect. Sometimes it comes wearing a red dress at someone else's engagement party.